So today, we're diving into the really fascinating tale of two microscopic cousins. Now, they share a family name, but they live worlds apart, right inside our own bodies. One is, well, pretty infamous, while the other has been kind of living in the shadows. Let's unravel the story of Trichomonas vaginalis and Trichomonas tenax.
I mean, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? But this isn't fiction at all. It's a biological reality. And that question, right there, gets straight to the heart of our story. It sets up this incredible comparison between two organisms that are super close relatives, yet they live in completely different neighborhoods inside of us.
All right, let's meet our two main characters. In one corner, you've got Trichomonas vaginalis. This is the one you've probably heard of, the notorious cause of trichomoniasis, the most common non-viral STI on the entire planet. Its home, the urogenital tract. And in the other corner, we have Trichomonas tenax, a very common resident of our mouths, just hanging out in the spaces around our teeth and gums. Same genus, completely different lifestyles.
Okay, so to really get why they're so different, we've got to first take a look at what makes them so much alike. Let's dive into their shared biology and just see where they fit in the grand scheme of things.
First things first, let's nail down a couple of key terms. Both of these guys are what we call protozoan endoparasites. So protozoan, that just means they're single-celled organisms, not complex multicellular things like worms. And endoparasite, well, that means they live inside their host. That's us, instead of on the outside, like lice or ticks. What's really wild is just how close their family ties are. I mean, look at this table. You can see they share the same domain, phylum, class, and even the same genus, Trichomonas. It's only when you get all the way down to the species level that they finally split. This shared family tree is why they look so similar, but it's their unique little adaptations that send them down such different life paths. At a quick glance, they look almost identical. They both have that classic pear shape, a nucleus, and those whip-like flagella they use to swim around. But if you look closer, there are some subtle differences. Trichomonas vaginalis is usually the bigger of the two. Its cousin, Trichomonas tenax, is a bit smaller and has a more prominent, longer undulating membrane, which under a microscope honestly looks kind of like tiny rippling legs. And here's where it gets really interesting. They're different homes, the urogenital tract versus the mouth. That one difference dictates everything else about their lives, especially how they get from me to you. This is where their stories really start to split. Okay, so take a look at this life cycle from the CDC for Trichomonas vaginalis. It tells a very direct story. As you can see, we humans are its only known host. It just lives in the lower genital tract, multiplies, and then gets passed on almost exclusively through sex. It's a simple but obviously incredibly effective strategy for survival. Now let's compare that with its oral cousin. Trichomonas tenax has a much more social and way less intimate way of getting around. It travels through saliva, so that means kissing, sharing a cup or a fork, or even just being near someone who coughs or sneezes could be enough to pass it along. This also shines a light on a huge vulnerability they both share. They both reproduce by just splitting in two, a process called binary fission. But, and this is a big but, neither one of them can form a tough protective shell, what we call a cyst stage, like a lot of other parasites do. This means they just can't survive for long out in the environment, which makes that direct person-to-person transmission absolutely essential for them. And this is where the story really takes a dramatic turn. We've seen how they live, we've seen how they spread, but what actually happens when they set up shop? What kind of damage can these things actually cause? To really get the sheer scale of Trichomonas vaginalis, just look at this number. The World Health Organization estimates there are 156 million new cases every single year. That's a massive global health issue. And while its prevalence does vary, so in a country like the Netherlands, for example, it's less common in the general population, it is still a big concern, especially in certain high-risk groups. The clinical picture for Trichomonas vaginalis is just completely different depending on your sex. In women, it often causes vaginitis with a pretty distinct purulent discharge, along with a lot of itching and pain. In men, though, the infection is often completely asymptomatic. And this is a really critical point because it means men can be unknowing carriers, helping spread the parasite far and wide. In some cases, the inflammation gets so intense it leads to this condition they call a strawberry cervix. The parasite causes these tiny, dotted hemorrhagic lesions on the cervix, giving it this really distinctive appearance. It's a powerful visual that shows you just how much damage this tiny little organism can actually inflict.
Okay, now let's switch gears back to Trichomonas tenax. For decades, this little guy was just dismissed as a harmless hanger-on, what scientists call a commensal, just living in our mouths, not causing any trouble. But this quote, it captures a huge shift in scientific thinking, as researchers are starting to realize it might just have a darker side. Yeah, the evidence that's coming out is pretty alarming. Turns out Trichomonas tenax isn't just a passive bystander. It actively produces powerful enzymes that can actually break down the tissues holding our teeth in place, contributing to severe gum disease. And what's even more concerning is that if it gets inhaled into the lungs, especially in people who have other health issues, it can cause rare but really severe lung infections like lung abscesses.
All right, so we're dealing with two pretty significant, though very different pathogens. The big question is, how do we find them? And how do we get rid of them? Fortunately, medical science has come up with some pretty effective tools for the fight.
The way we diagnose Trichomonas vaginalis has changed so much over the years. It all started with simple microscopy, literally just looking for the little swimming parasites under a microscope. It's fast, but it misses a lot of cases. Then came culturing, which is more sensitive, but it can take up to a week to get results. But today, the gold standard is a type of molecular test called a NAT. You've probably heard of PCR, that's one of them. These tests are incredibly sensitive and specific, and they've pretty much replaced all the older methods. When it comes to treatment, this is where their paths just completely split apart. For Trichomonas vaginalis, the solution is clear: a course of antimicrobial drugs, usually metronidazole. But for Trichomonas tenax, there isn't a standard drug therapy. Instead, the entire focus is on improving oral hygiene, getting professional cleanings, and taking better care of your mouth to get rid of the environment it loves.
And even for Trichomonas vaginalis, the treatment guidelines can be different depending on where you are. In the US, for instance, the CDC now recommends a 7-day course of metronidazole for women for a better cure rate. But in other places, like the Netherlands, a single high-dose treatment is still pretty common, mostly because it's just simpler. But the single most critical piece of this whole puzzle, no matter the drug, is treating all sexual partners at the same time. If you don't, you're just stuck in a never-ending cycle of reinfection. And all this brings us to prevention, which thankfully is pretty straightforward for both of them. For Trichomonas vaginalis, a sexually transmitted infection, consistent condom use is by far the most effective barrier. And for Trichomonas tenax, the oral inhabitant, the key is just good, consistent oral hygiene. So you've got two related parasites with two very different but equally simple ways to prevent them.
The whole story of Trichomonas tenax, going from what we thought was a harmless commensal to a potential pathogen, it really leaves us with a much bigger question. Our bodies are entire ecosystems, just teeming with trillions of microorganisms. It makes you wonder, right? How many other supposedly harmless residents are just waiting for the right conditions to show us their own hidden secrets?
All of the information we went through in this explainer was compiled using a Gemini deep search. If you want to go even deeper, you can find a detailed list of all our sources in the Notebook LM document. We've linked it down in the description. If you found this breakdown interesting, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel and let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.